Good evening, America, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Evening News with the E101 News Team. Tonight, making headlines is a national crisis: youth obesity. Youth obesity is running rapid in America. About 42% of all American population will be obese by the year 2030. In fact, reports in the Journal of Medicine suggest that an additional 30 million Americans will be obese by then. And in those 18 years, this level of obesity will cost an additional $550 billion in medical care. Along with those devastating predictions is the epidemic of youth obesity. 17% of Americans' children are considered obese. Obesity is the biggest threat to public health in the last 30 years, and the rate of youth obesity has tripled. Yes, this is a reality in America today. You only need to look around and you'll see how obesity is affecting our children and our families. Who is at fault? What will happen if we don't change this current trend? And of course, where must we begin the change? Tonight we will focus on youth obesity, families, parents, and a solution to turning the tide on youth obesity in America. We will begin with our very own man on the street reporter, Martha. Now to you, Martha.
Thank you, Buddy. I have asked 3 random parents the question: who's responsible for childhood obesity? And these are their answers.
What I believe as a parent is the leading cause for child obesity is parents allowing their children to eat more than they should, eat things that they shouldn't, and a lack of teaching them self-discipline.
There is a correlation into that. If the home does not carry a proper, nutritious way of eating, it can very much affect a child and then his eating patterns.
As a parent of 2 small children, I could see their tendencies to want to eat fast food. I've seen firsthand when those same children that have those tendencies grow up some to become teenagers, and they in turn do not understand how to control their urges. And for those that do try to control their urges and yet still can't lose that weight.
We just listened to parents' opinions, but I wanted to share this heartbreaking story about a teenager victim of obesity. After the story, we're back to you, Buddy. This is Shannon's story. She wrote about her sad circumstances while asking for help in a public website. Shannon's story is just one of the many real stories of youth fighting obesity. While listening to her story, please think, to whom is asking Shannon for help?
Hi, my name is Shannon. I am an obese 14-year-old. I have tried everything to try and lose weight, but I cannot. I weigh 130 and my BMI is 40. I cannot help myself from eating. I just crave food all the time. My friends have all size 8 bodies and I have a size 18 body. I have tried stuff like slimming tablets. I have attempted to starve myself. I am seriously considering surgery at this point, but I know my mom will not allow it. My parents and family constantly call me fat and bully me on numerous occasions. I cry myself to sleep most nights, but I know it is all my fault. People tell me to just stop eating, but it's not as easy as that. I need help, but don't know where to look. Please help me. I need to lose weight.
Thank you, Martha, for that insightful man on the street report and also for the heartfelt story. We now go to Caden. He is reporting live in Rexburg, Idaho. Caden?
Thanks, Bodie. Now, I want to fill you parents out there in with some jaw-dropping facts. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the number of overweight adolescents in the United States has tripled since 1980. We have heard a few comments about childhood obesity from other sources as well, but I would like to talk briefly about another impact that parents can have on their children. In a study by the U.S. National Library of Medicine, they concluded that parents will make the choices of when eating will occur the extent to which feeding occurs in response to children's indication of hunger or distress, the contents within which eating will occur, the foods and portion sizes that will be made available to children, and which feeding practices will be used to promote or discourage children's eating. And with children's activities levels, according to another source, they found that both encouragement and instrumental behaviors, example transportations, payment of fees, purchase of home equipment, were all significantly related to child and adolescent physical activity. The American Academy of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry also released information indicating that if one parent is obese, there's a 50% chance that the children will be obese. However, when both parents are obese, the children will have an 80% chance of being obese. So, where do we begin to start fixing these problems? As has been stated by my other colleagues, we must have a strong parental force that is willing to help literally shape the future of not only this country, but the world at large. Parents must begin having a broader knowledge of the dangers of obesity and smarter ways of dealing with the signs and symptoms of pre-obesity. One study suggests that family-based interventions through pediatric programs have shown a change in the behavior of multiple family members, not only that of our overweight children. From a more personal note, I have been a part of a few sports teams wherein I was younger, and now that I have in college, I have noticed the activity levels of my peers. As I think back to the best players on most of my teams, they just so happened to be the coaches or the assistant coaches' sons, or their parents had a leading role in getting their child on and off the court, on and off the field, multiple times a week to better prepare their child for the competitive games. When there is a parent leading the charge in getting their child active, the children are so much more involved in the sport or activity, and the children will have a much more willingness to remain active for a longer amount of time. Reporting from Rexburg, Idaho, back to you, Bodie.
Thank you, Caden. Those are certainly some jaw-dropping statistics. We now go live with Phil, who is on special assignment tonight. Out to you, Phil.
Thank you, Bodie. So, what happens if we don't do anything about this? Clearly, there are serious short and long-term consequences when childhood obesity is overlooked and ignored. In the short term, overeating creates an unhealthy habit, which may end up creating physical and mental challenges for children. Do we really want children exposed to mental issues, including negative peer pressure and verbal abuse? When eating and personal hygiene habits are left unchecked, their classmates and even adults make harmful comments and sometimes corral them into negative stereotypes of obese people, including the views that they are ugly, morally and emotionally impaired, asexual, disgruntled, weak-willed, and even unlikable. This creates a tremendous emotional burden to a child, which not only affects how they feel about themselves, but also hurts their confidence and ability to succeed. It's important to remember that there are immediate financial consequences as well. In the recent years, there have been significant increases in healthcare and hospital costs spent annually. With more of a long-term perspective, parents need to understand that if they do not take action to stop this problem, more and more children will develop diseases previously seen in older adults. Back in 2004, the Surgeon General Richard Carmona told a U.S. Senate subcommittee that, quote, because of the current overweight epidemic in children and teens, for the first time in history, the current generation of kids is not expected to live as long as their parents, unquote. Parents need to understand that not only are their children at greater risk due to generational and genetic dispositions, but also that by not taking on this epidemic, they will set up their children for a lifetime of health issues. Most children are unaware of the consequences of overeating. Let's be honest. A child's natural disposition is to eat sweet and fatty foods, which then leads them to develop higher levels of sugar. While this has an immediate effect on their health, most consequences become more apparent as they grow into adulthood. These include the risk of developing hypertension, diabetes, osteoarthritis, sleep apnea, which eventually lead to heart disease in many cases. What was once a one or two disease situation, we now have people diagnosed with multiple diseases that come with serious and often sad outcomes. Bodie, this is a pretty serious situation. I'm sending this back to you now.
Thank you, Phil, on your special report. Now let's jump over to Austin.
Thanks, Bodie.
We have just learned how widespread this issue is within our modern-day society. You may be even left wondering, what do I do now? The key to turning the tide for youth obesity is through the parents. Parents play a key role in helping children maintain a healthy lifestyle and should be actively involved in their health and nutrition choices. Continual encouragement for a child's health decisions will help them make better lifelong decisions. Not only this, but the family as a whole will benefit from living healthier lives. A study in the International Journal of Obesity and Related Metabolic Disorders states that parenting styles may influence the development of food preferences and the ability of a child to regulate intake. Parents and other family members arrange a common shared environment that may be conducive to overeating or a sedentary lifestyle. Family members serve as models and reinforce and support the acquisition and maintenance of eating and exercise behaviors. Family-based interventions are needed to modify these variables in treating obese children. If we want to see a change in the current situation, we need to start at the source of where these problems are starting, from the parents. One of the simple things that we can do today is begin to become educated about what our children are eating. That means understanding nutrition labels and having an active voice in children's food decisions. Other simple ways include having family dinner. Research from the Journal of the American Dietetic Association shows that family meal frequency during adolescence predicted higher intakes of key nutrients and lower intake of soft drinks during young adulthood. It further found that family meals during adolescence may have a lasting positive influence on dietary quality and meal patterns in young adulthood. We may think that this is a large issue, but in reality, we already have the know-how and the tools necessary to help our children lead active and healthy lives. Thank you for joining us tonight on E101 News. From all of us here at the studio, we wish you all a great evening. This is Austin Halverson, signing off.